Good evening, everyone. First, I want to apologize for my casualness and my tardiness. I apologize. I didn't give myself enough time to get here, and that's certainly not right. We're going to take matters out of order this September 8, 2022, right after I advise you of the following. My name is Steve DeYoung, and I'm chairman of this board. We will now convene the September 8 meeting. As required by General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 to 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, the public are able to attend this meeting either in person or via the alternative public access. Members of the public may watch the meeting live on Channel 18 or watch and/or participate in the meeting hosted in Zoom. The meeting notice provides necessary instructions to join the meeting via Zoom. Please note that audio, video, and screen functions will be disabled for all attendees in the Zoom pool. You may request to participate by using the raise hand function. I'm going to call the roll of this board this evening. Mr. Igo?
Present.
Mr. Mantani?
Present.
Mr. Frapery?
Here.
And I'm here. So that makes a quorum. We have a suitable 4-member short board, unfortunately. We're going to take something out of order only because I know it needs to go over. And that is Kingsway Trust, 64 Kings Circuit, Yarmouthport, Mass. That property is located in an R40 zoning district. And pursuant to petition 4977, the applicant is seeking to modify an existing special permit to allow a use for all members of the public to play golf at the Kingsway Golf Course. Sounds pretty good to me. Hello, would you state your name for everybody,
Yes,
Mr.
Chairman,
Reed?
Attorney David Reed, representing the applicant this evening. It's come to my attention through your clerk and through yourself that the notices that were sent out for this hearing did not include the residents within Kingsway itself. Notices were sent to 237 abutters, but not to the condominium owners within the condominium. So additional notice is required for them as well. Frankly, I hadn't anticipated that and didn't notice it when the assessors list came out, but I did note that in your previous petition involving the same property, you did that as well. You gave supplemental notice to the occupants as well as to the abutters. My only question for you is, first of all, do you have a date certain to which you continue it tonight? And if so, is it necessary for us to notify everybody again or just those who weren't notified of tonight's hearing?
My belief is that you have to notify everybody again.
Okay.
Because it's a new meeting date. We didn't open this meeting on this petition. So.
Okay. We'll notify everybody.
I mean, I'm sorry to say that. I regret that 200 and some odd people are going to have to get a second notice, and with the expense of it. But in any event, do we have a date certain?
October 27th?
How does that work for your plans, Mr. Reed?
If that's the earliest you can reach us, then that'll have to be.
Nothing sooner? Okay. Well, we'd like to accommodate you sooner if we could. We're always happy to see you, and certainly I think everybody in this room is familiar with Kingsway, and I bet some of you have played golf over there once or twice in your life. So it's interesting, and we'll hear from the public when the petition actually opens. October 27, would you sign a continuation? Oh, you did? Okay. Thank you.
All right.
As always, good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board.
We have to vote.
No, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's have somebody move to continue. Thanks.
I move to continue.
All right, second. Okay, and the roll call vote is John?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So thank you, Jay, for correcting me and not having me be out of line. That passes therefore on a 4-0 roll call vote, and we will have that in the minutes clearly if you wish to review them.
See you next
Thank
month.
you.
Thank you.
Petition 4976, that of Deborah and Michael Farrell, 175 Pine Road, South Yarmouth, Mass. That property being in an R25 zoning district. Tonight, our applicants seek a special permit pursuant to 104.3.2, subparagraph 2, or in the alternative, a variance from 203.5 to increase height within front setback in order to meet building code standards. Good evening. Will you tell us who you are?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Cook. I'm the owner of Couture Bay Design LLC. I'm the project designer and helping out the Farrells. With me is the Farrells behind me. So the Farrells purchased this property this February with the intent to renovate it for year-round use. The house was constructed in 1937, only seasonally used. It's pre-existing non-conforming to the setbacks with 16.3 feet on the front, 16.1 feet on the left side, and 10.6 feet on the right side. The lot coverage right now is at 17.1%, and this property is in an AE flood zone with a base flood elevation of 11.0 feet. So the Farrells obtained a demo permit from the building department and started some work on the project. They found that a lot of the floor joists and supports underneath were very deteriorated and in tough shape. So during the demo work, they worked with the building commissioner, and the building commissioner determined that the cost of the proposed work would exceed 50% of the market value of the house. So at that point, he said that this building needed to be raised to meet all flood zone requirements, and he referred the Farrells to this board for a special permit. So as part of that, we developed a set of plans where we're raising the house to meet all the flood zone requirements. And the front and rear porches will be removed and rebuilt in the same footprint because they're masonry, they don't have a floor on it. So now since we're raising, we need to build a wood frame floor. No change in the setbacks or lot coverage. It's going to just take the same footprint and just raise it. New septic system will be installed in the rear. And that's in process and design. The engineer's working on that, and the engineer's going to file for IDA application on the Conservation Commission because it's a flood zone. There's no wetlands nearby. There's no setbacks for wetlands or anything, just for flood zone. The shed on the rear of the property will be removed. And the current building height right now is 14.6 feet with going up in the height, it will bring it up to around 21 feet. And, this house is similar to all the other houses in the neighborhood. I know there's some capes and story and a half houses, a lot of ranches and cottages. So very similar, and raising this house is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. With that, I'll take any questions from the board.
Jay, any questions of the petitioner's representative?
Just clarification, so it's the same footprint?
Yes.
Basically?
Yep.
And it's just really kind of going up 6 feet?
Yes.
And then similar structure for what's there now?
Yes.
Just replacing?
Yeah, the porch on the front has a little shed roof. The porch on the rear has a shed roof. We're just,
Okay, and what, is it a slab floor now? I mean, slab, is there a basement of anything or a crawl space?
it was maybe like a 1 foot crawl space underneath. Yeah, when I took out the floor joist, you went down, it was just dirt underneath and it was all deteriorated.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Igo.
Good evening. Is there an existing porch on the back right now?
Yes, there is.
Right
Yep.
there, that-
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do you have a septic plan?
I
Yeah,
do
you
not
wanna take it?
have septic plans in process right now.
Has this been approved by the Board of Health for a septic system?
Well, there is an existing septic system when you purchase the property, right? There's an existing septic. Yeah, just come on up here and talk to it on the mic.
Yes. Okay.
So there is an existing septic system.
You just bought it a few months back, you said, or
February.
February. So you must have had a Title V inspection before it passed. I mean, before you passed papers.
We didn't do that. We don't have a mortgage on it. We just purchased it. And I think the septic system was
Was it inspected?
I don't have an answer for that because I didn't
The
get involved
building
at
co-
that point.
the
so.
building commissioner was over there about 2 or 3
The health
times.
department did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So because we're raising it and redoing the house, we decided to put in a new septic system.
Okay.
So because of the timing of this, because I was brought in halfway through this process because the Farrells were having some issues with the people they were dealing with previously. So the septic engineer has a late start on this.
Right.
So, and he's
pretty familiar with that property down there. Sorry, Steve, I know you hate it when I say that. And I know it's a little wet across the street. I know I looked at this in correspondence about some concerns about the neighbors across the way. So you said you're gonna put a new septic system in there. Is it gonna be a raised system?
I would probably say 75% chance, yes, it will be a raised
Okay,
system
all
because
right.
of the high groundwater there.
And that'll be in the backyard?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, was there photographs in with the application there? Yeah.
Photographs of the house.
Yeah, so where the shed is located in the rear yard, that's where the new septic system will be
Well, I
located.
would think just looking at this, that would be the only place you could put it, is in
Right,
the
there's not much room
backyard.
there anyway.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And this is all gonna be poured foundation here, and what you're gonna put is some vertical boards on that?
Yes, yeah,
So that's a 1x8 red cedar attached to strapping?
yes. Yeah.
And how far space will be that, about an inch?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
About an inch
About an
apart?
inch, yeah, because we have to put in the flat vents to cut in through the foundation and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. So I couldn't give you a real clear answer on the septic because.
No, that's
we
all
jumped in
right. I
late
mean,
on that,
it's
yeah.
obviously, as you're aware, I'm sure, when you get your building permit, I'm sure Mr. Murphy's going to want to sign off on the septic, whatever he requires. I just wanted to know if you had done that yet, but that's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
John,
I don't have any questions.
I have a couple. Is there an elevation on some of these, one of these plans? Can you show me an elevation?
Oh, sure. If you go to the site plan, the site plan has a, where is it? Let me just pull out the site plan right here. So there's a note, it says TBM, which is top of Bound Monument, elevation 6.2. So that's a grade. And it's a flat, as you see on the photographs, it's a flat piece of property. Then if you go into my architectural plans, if you look at the front elevation, there's a note on the left side of the front elevation says existing grade elevation 6.0 feet, and it has AE flood zone, base flood elevation 11 feet.
What will it be at the top ridge?
21 feet, there's a dimension right on the front.
21 feet from ground zero to,
Yeah, right now it's
Top
14.6
of the
feet.
ridge.
So,
Okay. And these materials that you've identified on these plans as part of the building materials, if we made a condition that you use those same materials or like materials, is that a problem?
no,
Because
because
like Mr. Igo, I don't want to see a foundation that high that doesn't have some kind of, effect, decorative effect to it.
yeah, that's why
We don't either.
yeah, that's why I called out the.
I know
square
you'd be
footage.
looking at it, right?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful little cottage, but it's time to make it a home, I guess.
The other thing I mentioned is because of the height, we need two egress stairs. So the front stairs will come off the porch and come straight down. And then there's an egress platform with a set of stairs on the rear elevation. So that goes along the porch. So it's not sticking out into the yard, it just goes along the porch.
So again, the reason you're here is because you need a relief in that the closest portion of which is the sun porch, I guess, is 16.3 feet from the Pine Grove Road.
Well, it's actually on three sides, it's not conforming. Was
Well, no, you got to conform to front setback on the Vineyard side, Vineyard Street side, and the Pine Grove Road side. So, you get two sides that aren't, but I mean, that's meaningless. The reason you're here is that you want to raise the height of
correct.
a non-conforming structure. Is that
Yes.
fair to say? Okay. Well, it's going to be a nice little home. I have one question just out of personal curiosity, I'm looking at the rear elevation. Are those considered, is anything there considered to be breakout panels?
No, they're just smart vents. So they're automatic vents when flood waters come in, they are.
I understand what it
automatically turn,
is.
yeah.
I'm just wondering, there's no smart vents that are required for this? I mean, smart,
You break up.
see, you got me starting, no breakaway panels
No,
required?
because it's an AE flood zone. If it was a velocity flood zone, you would need the breakaway
Okay,
panels.
thanks for explaining that. So used to seeing plans that are near wetlands that tell me, you know, these beautiful breakout panels with all glass
Oh, right.
at the soil height. All right, does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please come to the microphone and let us know who you are. Seeing none. Does anybody care to speak in opposition to this plan? If so, please come to the microphone. Let us know who you are.
We have someone in our virtual audience that wants,
Pardon me?
we have someone in our virtual audience who's raised their hand on Zoom.
Online.
Okay, we're going to get there. All right, so we see none. So we have a letter that I would read in, or if the person is in there in the waiting room and wants to address the board, that's fine, but we're not going to do both. So why don't we identify who it is that's there that would like to speak?
It's Roseanne Lippy, I believe.
Okay, and can she hear us now?
That's who we get the letter from too.
So where are you saying it?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Ms. Lippy, here's the deal. You've sent us a letter and I'll be happy to read it into the record. Or in the alternative, you are welcome to go ahead and tell us what you have to say, but I'm not gonna do both. Both read the letter and allow you to speak. So why don't you?
Well,
tell-
can I ask a question?
I couldn't hear you.
Could I ask a question?
You sure may.
Is there going to be a basement?
Well, it's a above the ground basement, but I guess that's what you'd call it.
I can answer that.
Sure.
It's going to be a crawl space because we only have 6 feet of height. Full basement, you need 7 feet of height. So it's technically a crawl space, but you can walk in and you have to duck your head a bit. So
Could you hear that?
I could, but I'm a little concerned. I don't really understand. I wrote the letter, but I really don't understand. But if I can't do both, then we'll let the letter stay. But I don't think it needs to be addressed because of the water issue.
Well, we'd rather hear it from you live than have to read your letter. But I-
Okay, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Letter, and I'm happy to read it in its entirety if you'd like.
No, I mean, what I'm very concerned is, as I said in the letter, we've owned this property. The houses were built in the 60s. The water has gotten worse over the years, but I swear there's a stream under it because even in the drought, the pump ran once this summer, and I don't understand how. We've spent over 40 grand replacing French drains, and we've had 6 to 8 different pumps in there. There's 3 pumps all the time, or 2 pumps running, 3/4 horse and a backup. And we have rain and we're gonna be filled up. And I've had to have additional pumping done. We lost the whole house. They had the inside of the house, the water seeped up the walls, rained, and they had to take it down to the studs and start over. And that was addition to the 40 grand. So I'm very concerned what's going to happen to the ground. Is it going to make any more water come our way? These catch basins there are just a hole. They do nothing for the property. It doesn't move out. It sits there. So if we have any good storms, it's just going to be pumped right back into my basement. I've called several times to have these catch basins cleaned with no effort to try to help me with this. There is a couple on Pine Grove Road and there's one on F Road. And I'm at wit's end with what's going on with the water issue. So I thought this was a good time to bring it up, and they're going to be dealing with this too. And every time a septic system was put up, ours started, we were one of the first ones. We have it on a, piece of property that we own. There's one across the street. There's going to be one behind them. They're going to be dealing with it also. So that's my concern is water. And it's going to be much higher than what's there. So I think it's even going to be above the fence that's their neighbors have. I don't know. I mean, I can understand them wanting to raise it, but I can't lose any more.
Well, you know, in your letter, I thought you provided a great summary and two items I'd like to read from your letter. That is your statement that there are a few catch basins in the area, but these, it says do very little good. I'm sure you meant do very little good. They do not drain anywhere, and I have called the town to have them cleared, but to my knowledge, nothing has been done. You also provided a summary that in 2008, you had a new septic system installed, and it could only get down about a foot because it was hitting water, so it had to be a mounded system is what I'm understanding. You also have water issues and have to run a sump pump, but they've gotten worse over the years. 2015, you had several inches of water in your basement and had to use, you actually ultimately install a French drain with 3 1/2 horsepower pumps to assist it. The 2018 event is when the pumps broke down due to overuse, and you replaced the pumps and paid for additional pumping. In 2019, your pumps could not keep up with the amount of water. In 2020, a new French drain was installed on your property, now with a 3/4 horsepower engine. In 2022, you had to pay for additional pumping, and twice annually we have to pump the French drains and have them serviced. So if I've missed anything that you didn't cover in your own statement, please feel free to bring it to our attention. But otherwise, I think you covered everything very nicely in your spoken words as well as in your written words. And they align. So with that, does anybody have any questions of Ms. Lippy?
I have a question for her.
Do you have a full cellar in your house?
Yes.
Well, the reason why your cellar is flooding out is because your property is located in a flood zone. And when they had to build your septic system up, that's your cellar is probably lower than your septic system, I would guess. Again, I'm quite familiar with that area, and that corner of Aft Road and Pine Grove Road is the low spot in that area. I built a house right around the corner on Gardner Lane many years ago, and I could only put a half foundation in over there due to that being in a flood zone. And I grew up around the corner on Mackenzie Road, and we put a full foundation in over there, I recall, and my father had sump pumps going in that place as long as we lived there. So that is a problem in the neighborhood. I don't think this property is going to cause that. It would be nice for the town to come down though and clean out those catch basins. Just, I would say, stay on them, call up the highway department and squawk at them, and you'll probably get them down there. They'll put you on a list. The old squeaky wheel gets the grease. I always say that's the best way to go.
Well, I tried several times. They don't listen to
Yeah,
me.
no, I hear you,
Just told me this.
but I think that's what the problem is there.
Well, I'm going to chime in while you're there, Ms. Lippy, and I want to thank you. We realize you live off Cape year round, and it's a wonderful thing. We can participate in this new world with internet access. It's great. Zoom is a wonderful program, and we're happy to have you here instead of making you drive all the way down to speak. So I'm like Mr. Igo, pretty familiar with the area, and when the water table's high, it affects every property, particularly if you have an excavated basement. So, which is what those older homes in that neighborhood have. This is going to go up from the ground to have a 6 foot tall basement. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Probably for the equipment of the home, the gas heater or whatever you're putting in, the water heater.
No,
electric.
they're going to be all above the flood
Oh, are they, huh?
elevation. Yeah, that's just a crawl space for storage. You know, you put
Oh, okay.
kayaks, ladders,
Right.
bikes, whatever else you have in there. So.
Right, but it's going to be above the flood zone, and that's what they've opted to do to assure that their basement won't become flooded. And so I mean, I don't suggest you do the same thing, but I don't think that this house merely going up a height is going to create any additional flooding by that act. So I hear you and I feel sorry for you, and I agree with Mr. Igo. Get on that phone and just harass the DPW till they finally respond. And they will respond, because it's, you know, this meeting is televised, and also, you know, the town itself gets concerned with what's said here and what people's input to these meetings are. And perhaps somebody in the power will hear us talk tonight and nudge that DPW. But that's where it's got to start. There's no responsibility of this petitioner for the minimal drainage that you have in this area.
Well, is it gonna be pitched at all, their new foundation? I mean, are they bringing in any grade that's gonna pitch it down towards the street, their own?
No,
Respond to that.
no, it's all gonna remain flat. If the septic system's elevated, probably will have a wall around it versus mounded, you know, and if it does, depends on the depth of the groundwater. As you know, you need 5-foot separation between the bottom of a septic tank and the leach field to groundwater. So even if it's mounded, it'd be all grass and planted, so there's no erosion that way. But my guess is it'll have walls around it.
But you're not going to be in charge of that. That's going to be nature that's going to make that determination, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. Once the septic engineer is gonna go out and do a perk test and determine. Now, if he does a perk test now, probably groundwater is low, but if we have a lot of rain during the winter or spring, it could be could be a foot different, you know, so he's gonna probably take that into
And
effect.
just for clarity, it's going to sit on the exact same footprint of the
Yes.
existing.
Yeah.
Would you agree that is a special permit then in that event, since there's
Raise and
no
replace.
greater non-conformity? So I don't know what else we can say to you, ma'am, other than we feel your pain. Anybody that lives on Cape Cod feels the pain of water in their basement. I promise you. I live.
Well, it wasn't like that before.
Well,
We've owned them in the 60s. We were able to use the basement before for storage. We had a washer and dryer,
Yeah, I think.
and
we're
now
gonna-
we can't.
I think we've heard you and understand your position. So let's move it along. Does anybody else in our audience? Oh, we've already done that. So is the board prepared to have any discussions, or would somebody like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the special permit as requested.
I'll second.
And
The only conditions that I would put on it is that the exterior of the house shall be as represented on the plan submitted
with the same materials.
with the same materials.
Anything about condition on getting the health department approval?
Oh, that's a
and
given.
that- And
Yeah.
that it's,
Okay.
but I think that they're not going to be
Build it
able to
without that.
proceed without that.
You'd be a
but-
fool to build it without the health department's
Yeah,
approval. but-
they,
Correct, yeah.
but that it's
Cape Cod.
Yeah.
an adequate Title V system.
I've been from Newfound
be
Lake.
installed.
You know, they're a great one that.
Oh, how'd you know?
I had a cottage and lived up there for a long time.
You did? Oh, wow. Well, we love it, but we have family down here too in Eastham, so.
My family moved that way.
Oh, yeah, our family moved this way.
All right, well, we have a motion on the floor, so let's move that along.
Thank you.
Does anybody in our, and on the board have any desire to have discussion about this before moving it along?
I think that the petitioner has met their burden for a special permit. I don't think that this is going to be substantially more non-conforming or detrimental to the neighborhood, cause any undue nuisance, harm, or congestion. And I think it's keeping within the zoning district and the surrounding neighborhood.
I would agree.
Same here.
Well, you understand that as a condition of our proceeding with the vote, we would require you to ask us to allow you to withdraw the variance. Can't have both.
Right.
Can't have one hanging out there.
Right, correct. So,
So
yeah,
you
we-
understand that after that, the same two moving part, the party who made the motion, the move, second on that, will do so, and we will then go into a vote on withdrawing the variance request without prejudice.
Okay.
Okay?
thank you.
All right.
No idea what that just meant.
So by roll call vote, Jay,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
And John?
Aye.
I'm an aye. That carries 4-0. I'll draft a decision. That decision will be filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse from the date of that decision before it's considered a fully granted a special permit. And that special permit will then need to be taken to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds, recorded and returned to our board administrator, okay? And before you leave,
I'd
we've
like
got
to-
it.
Can I make a motion that we allow the petitioner to withdraw the variance request without prejudice?
Second.
Would need any discussion? Hearing none. John?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that carries as well. There'll be no written decision other than as contained in the memorandum of this grant of special permit, okay?
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
See you.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah, good luck with the construction.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. It brings us to our last petition tonight, that of James and Ludmilla. Please don't get angry with me. Is it Zarnecki? Well, listen, you can't believe how many people get my name wrong. And it's concerning property located at 8 Hastings Avenue in West Yarmouth, Massachusetts. That property being in a zoning district R40. And partially in the APD. I didn't know that could happen, but the applicant seeks a special permit pursuant to 104.3.2, subparagraph 2, or in the alternative, a variance under provision, bylaw provision 203.5, to construct an addition in required rear setback on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. Sounds familiar. Why don't you go ahead, sir, identify who you are and tell us all about your petition.
Okay, I'm James Zernicki, one of the property owners. We had purchased the property approximately about 4 years ago because our family had grown at that time. We needed a little bigger house. And when we purchased this house, we did not realize that we had the second on the way. So unfortunately, the house is getting a little small for us, and naturally, the next step would probably be to find a bigger house. But then COVID happened, and we all know what that did to the property values. And now that's kind of made it a hardship to try to find a different property that would suit our needs. So we started looking at different things that we could do to make it happen. The way the house sits on the lot, it's, I mean, as you can see by the plan, it sits kind of at an angle where I have on one side of the house, we have plenty of room to do what we're looking to do, but the layout of the house doesn't work for us. So by putting our heads together, we tried to do everything we could to come up with a plan, and that is to build an addition that would be on the back side of the garage, and it's the size it is because I need entry from the main house into the garage, or entry into the addition from the main house, which is beyond the garage. So my wife works locally at the hospital, so she works the overnight shift. So with 2 young kids bouncing and jumping around, it makes it kind of hard for her to get to sleep. So,
Listen, we've already done our penance with children, okay?
so you know exactly what it's like.
Well, yeah. All right, well, listen, I got to tell you, that was a very articulate and well-presented presentation. And let's move it along to questions that board members may have, okay?
Perfect.
Jay, do you have any questions of our petitioner?
Well, I guess I am concerned. We don't usually like to get things that become more non-conforming, so this is the only option that you had, because the back line is the issue, the back
The back side.
20 feet is, I think, the requirement.
That's correct.
I see what you're trying to do. I understand what you're trying to do, but usually we're a little reluctant to make anything more non-conforming than it already is. So, did you explore any other options, like maybe a second floor or something like that in the same footprint?
We had talked about doing, adding another story, but to be, I'm concerned about my neighbors and what our neighborhood looks like. And that would make us one of the only few second, most of the houses on the street are ranch style houses. So what we're looking to do is basically just,
There are a lot of ranch, but I have seen a lot of modifications on some, and some look like half of a second floor, things like that. But I understand what you're trying to do, but I don't have any other questions. I just thought I'd make that comment.
So if I bring that in, the addition, and we still make it the same length, when you walk into the room, you're actually going to be facing more to my neighbor's property, if that makes sense, the lengthwise, for us to put it like a fireplace and make it a living room.
Make it a little longer versus this.
Right. So now we're gonna lose a little bit of the privacy. That's where that came into play. My apologies, when we turned that in, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at the property at all.
I did walk by it, yeah. What's
If you
behind?
want to give us pictures, we have to keep them.
Okay, that's fine.
Behind the yard, what's in back? Because it looks like it's pretty much green space behind your house.
It is town, I believe it is town-owned
Town
land.
land, yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
I wish I had more copy, but I do have these if you would like to take a look
It's
at.
up to you.
Okay.
If you want to offer them to us, we have to keep them though.
I
Gotta wait till you're back on the microphone. Thank you. You gotta wait till you're back on the microphone. Thank you.
guess that's all I have for questions.
Sean?
I don't have any questions. The only question I have is, you have an existing deck out? Is there an existing deck?
There
out
is an
back?
existing
How
deck.
far out back, how far back does it go?
I want to say, that it is about 12 feet. We're just looking to bring it to whatever the
But it's
addition-
not beyond 20, correct?
Sean,
no,
look
it's
at
not.
that.
Okay. I don't have any, oh yeah, there it is right there. I don't have any questions. I do note that you have no neighbors to the rear.
Well, the neighbor to the rear on the abutters list is the town of Yarmouth
Town of Yarmouth.
for number 57-5. And so it's pretty clear that's what's behind you here. At least that's the way it's marked on what you've submitted to us. And I'm assuming that to be accurate. And that would be, I don't know what this is that, who did this?
That I'm not sure. I don't believe that came.
Submitted it, so,
That didn't come from me.
That's the property card.
That's off the property card.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, when we look back there, it's a pretty sizable land that's apparently conservation behind you there. Huh?
I was led to believe town-owned land.
No,
is
it's
what
clear it does from the abutters list.
Because I believe Plash's Pond is just a little beyond that in the back there.
Well, as the party most affected, I don't see anybody here from the town of Yarmouth that's voicing any complaint.
The only comment I would have, and we can discuss this later, is I don't believe this is a special permit. This would have to be a variance. Right now, the house is conforming in all dimensions that I can see.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate reality. When I looked at the plans that were submitted, the notes said to us in the zoning summary that this is a completely conforming structure and will only become unconforming or non-conforming
Lot sizes.
as it goes to the minimum rear setback, which will go from an existing 28 feet to a lessened 13.6 feet to the town's land. So
Right.
that's a pretty big parcel behind you there, boy, I'll tell you.
I mean, I would suggest that they may meet the criteria for a variance. We could certainly discuss that, but I do think that's the proper form of relief that they need to ask for tonight.
John?
What's the size of this addition? Is it 24 by 24 approximately? That's what I can
It's
gather.
going to be 24 deep by 23 wide. And the reason why we came up with that, I know it seems like a strange number, but that brings me to the edge of the garage, so it makes an L
And
right
edge
up
of
to the deck.
Right.
And the problem is we have the septic tank is right on the edge of where the deck is now. So I was told that it was going to be hard to pretty much do anything
other side of the deck.
right close to that. So that it was just so we could back up to the deck and make it an L and make it, private and fitting in with the neighborhood.
In what's the purpose of is it more bedrooms or
No, it's actually going to be more or less a family room.
it's a big family room?
With a little, niche for the kids to study and do their work and have their toys there. So we're not really tripping over that and
Just get them out of the way.
right.
That's it. No other questions.
Yeah, it'd be a little easier if it came under 104.3.2, wouldn't it? If you were now non-conforming, you merely sought to change it. The criteria is a little simpler for you.
Extending then, yeah.
Yeah, even then you're right, even then the word extension comes into play. So I don't have any questions of you. I do have, before we go on to a discussion about it, I'm going to invite anybody in our audience that cares to speak in favor of this petition. Please come to the microphone and tell us who you are. Seeing none. Does anybody in our audience care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the microphone and let us hear what you have to say. Seeing none. Is there anybody in our virtual audience that is interested in this petition?
Sure.
Nobody in the virtual audience. That's a pretty good indication no one wants to speak in favor or against, huh? All right, so we then close it to the public's input into the petition, open it up to board discussions and deliberations. John, what are your thoughts?
Well, given the fact that there's such a large wooded lot behind them, and it's really not going to affect anyone, I don't really see any reason to deny them the options, but I don't know. What's everybody else think?
Okay. Sean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I feel the same way John does. If there was a neighbor out back, I think I'd have more concerns because they are asking to get, fairly close to the rear lot line. And that may become a privacy issue should they have real neighbors, but they don't. In terms of the criteria, I think if we look at the shape of the lot, okay, it's a bit of an odd shape. And I think if that were to be put on the other side, they might meet the 20 feet. Unfortunately, they don't have the option to put it over on that side because there's an existing septic system there. So the shape, that represents a hardship. So the hardship is owing to the shape of the lot and the fact that there's an existing septic system there. And so I think we could probably grant this due to the fact that they don't have any neighbors to the rear, about that we would not be degrading from the purpose and intent of the bylaw, should we grant that relief. So I do think that they would meet the criteria for a variance. I do note Jay's comments about creating new nonconformities. I think they have to be done very carefully if we're going to go down that road. But I think in this case, I am comfortable voting in favor of it, and I do believe that they meet the criteria for a variance.
And Jay, what are your thoughts?
I think I agree with most of what was said. I know we really don't like to add the nonconformities that are out there, but this lot and location, I don't think that's ever going to be developed in the back. I don't think the town has any plans to do anything but use it as conservation space. It does kind of conform to the neighborhood, with what they're trying to do. I hate to get in the way of people trying to put a more livable situation together, especially with the cost of living down here right now. So a little sympathetic to that whole issue. Going to raise a family and things. So I don't think it really infringes upon anybody. So if everyone feels that it's not a real issue for setting precedent, then I would probably be comfortable to support it.
Well, I remember when we had a petition very similar to this, you know. It met all the criteria, but now they wanted to make an addition that would actually go the 2 stories of the existing structure, but back into the backyard. And it would then be too close to the lot line in terms of setback. It was adjacent to a golf course. And we said, oh, that's pretty good. We know you're not going to have a neighbor back there. So no one was going to be impacted. And I think absolutely Sean's right. It's a variance. It's not a special permit, even though you asked for that in the alternative. I'm sure that's what building told you to do. And so you need to know that if we get to a point of voting favorably on this, we would expect that you would also understand we will be voting favorably on a motion to withdraw your special permit without prejudice. Is that what you'd like me to do?
That's what I would like you to do.
Because we can't force you to do that, but I know we won't vote on the variance and leave a special permit request open, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, so what's the status? Anybody ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, given the circumstances and the situation and the lack of neighbors behind it, the special situation and the size of the lot, to approve this as proposed. I don't have any conditions I can think of.
As a variance, correct?
The variance, yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We did, John? All right, now there's a motion made by Jay, seconded by John to grant the request for variance, so much of the petition for variance and without condition. Does the board care to have any discussion on that motion before proceeding to a vote?
Yes, I would just like to reiterate what I said before, that the petitioner, I believe, does qualify, has met the criteria for a variance in terms of this addition. If the petitioner comes back and wants to add any additional floor to that addition, he would have to know that he would need a variance as well to do that. That would not be a special permit in the future. And I'm not sure how I would vote on that at the time. This one, I think, is acceptable for the neighborhood. Should it want to be expanded in the future, I'm not sure how I would vote for that, but I think it should be noted in the decision.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, if you wanted the pie bigger, you should have put it into a bigger dish, but when you baked it, but you know, now you're stuck with what you've got here. And he makes a very good point. And that is that once this is allowed, this property will now become non-conforming. And non-conforming relief such as this could be by special permit. I know if it's my tenant that I'm on this board, and a tenant that I'm on this board, and you come back with a request for expanding across the backyard to the same depth, I'll give you a resounding no unless there's some real good reason why. Okay? So I think that's a good point, well made, and will be reflected in the decision. So there's a motion by Jay, seconded by John. We'll do a roll call. John?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.
Myself, I'm an aye. So that it means that on a roll call vote, so much of your petition requesting a variance will be allowed. A decision will be drafted. It gets filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse after that's filed, not from today, whenever it's filed. And that 20 days is a technical waiting period. Assuming nobody appeals during that period, you'll then need to take the variance to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds, record it so that it's effective. Excuse me. And once you've done that and returned the recorded instrument to our office administrator, you will then be able to go ahead with your construction. Assuming everything else is right between you and the building department. We have a motion that needs to be made on the special permit.
Like to move that we allow the petitioner to withdraw the request for special permit without prejudice.
Second.
Yeah, and the photos have just come back to me, so I'm going to tell you that if you have a need for this, they will be marked. We have to do this as Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, and Exhibit 3, okay? And you're not going to get them back.
Really? You wouldn't give back?
No. No. I think the new requirements mandate that we keep anything that's passed to us. Excuse me. So we have that motion to withdraw without prejudice. Have we voted on that? Have we done? All right, John,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Jay,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. So that special permit will be withdrawn without prejudice, okay?
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. We'll be heading home shortly, so we'll have a better evening. All right, we have a couple other matters on our agenda.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
You sure may.
for-
Everybody had the chance to go over the minutes. That would be the minutes for the April 14, 2022 meeting and the August 25, 2022 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I wasn't present on the April.
Okay, but you've read them.
I've read it, yes.
I think you can still vote. Yes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Yeah, second.
Second.
Jay, we'll do it by roll call vote. Jay,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. I don't know that procedurally that's an accurate way to do it, but we probably should have made you watch the movie, but good to talk with all of you tonight. Now we need somebody to move to
Move to-
Adjourn?
adjourn and go home.
No, I'm not voting for that.
Move to adjourn.
I do want to remind everybody that next Thursday is a zoning board special event, and we hope to see you all there, okay?
We're calling it a gathering.
All right,
Special
with that,
event, yes.
we now adjourn.